Hi there. This is Sandra Wight, an associate trainer with Art to Ride, and I wanted to do a second part of my yearly submission focusing on the three little gypsy vanners that we've started working. I'm about a month into their training, and two are 5 years old and one is six. They've been handled since birth, and all are quite social and curious, just very green. But the advantage to that is there's no bad training to undo or breaks to heal. All three of them actually found the stretch within the first few minutes and were very eager to learn. So it's clear to me that starting horses that have not been damaged by bad riding or handling is 1,000 times easier. So this is Pippi. Pippi is a 5-year-old bay. When I first started Pippi, she was a lot more whoa than go. I spent the better part of 2 sessions just getting her to move forward and walk actively, but you'll note that she now goes right to the end of the lunge line and right to work. She usually starts off a bit sticky in her movements, but once she's warmed up, she really gets her hocks activated. I feel she's actually the most developed and has a very strong back and will likely be the first of the three who will be ready for a rider. So you'll note that she's being lunged off of a bridle. I am about 8 sessions in at the time of this recording, and both she and Lily were ready. Of course, I started just lunging in a halter until I could see that they understood the work. A few sessions later, I just put the bridle on her and then had her carry around the bit while I lunged her off of the halter. That way she could just become accustomed to holding it in her mouth. Now you can see that she's accustomed to it, and it's really no big deal. Attaching the line was just another step in a progression that she's already familiar with, so she took it completely in stride. With Pippi, I work on moving forward and increasing the activity of the hind end. She does have the power to be quite a mover, but she's kind of a slow burning engine where it does take her a while to get moving. Once she does, though, however, she's really quite impressive. So right now, since she's carrying the bit for the first time and lunging off of the bit, I'm just allowing her to kind of go at her own pace and then just to walk around and just kind of swing and get her muscles moving and activated. So that's really what I do when I start these sessions with the girls is I'll start them just lunging off of a halter, and then she's moving into the trot now, and I'm taking up the slack because she has a tendency to drift in a little bit, and I want to make sure that that line is never dragging. So I'm just allowing her to kind of become accustomed to this. And then she, of course, finds the stretch within just a little bit, and you can actually see how lovely her hocks are circling as she reaches under. And this is just rudimentary, just a glimpse of what she's going to be one day, which I think is going to be quite spectacular. In fact, towards the end of this, you can see her actually really lifting her front end as her back end steps underneath and pushes up through her back, and you can see her withers start to elevate. So I'm excited for how quickly she's advanced and understood this work and kind of settled into it. They seem to take everything in stride as long as you present it in a nice, calm manner. Here I am taking the slack up just a bit more and then bringing her back down into a walk so that she can find that stretch and just kind of swing. She carries a lot of muscle and she's pretty well proportioned. The left side is by far her best side. You'll see when we switch sides, she gets a little bit stiff, but she's active enough and moving forward enough for where she is right now. So I'm happy with that. I think that once she is developed, she's going to be quite a mover. So I'm excited again to see what she does. But right now, I'm just letting her get used to everything that's new. And the breed seems to take it in stride quite a bit. They just, as long as you present something that is calming and give them a moment to settle in and see that it's no big deal, they are quite accepting. So I am not about to do anything that's going to jeopardize that. So everything I do is just very methodical. We start off lunging with the halter. And then I'll put a bridle on and let them lunge with the halter on and just carrying the bridle. And then the next step is just to remove the halter and attach the lunge line and let them lunge off of that. And once they've done that and warmed themselves up, we'll go into a little bit of work in hand. And then I generally end up each session with a little bit of body work just to get them accustomed to being touched and pressure. And I'll lean a little bit and work around them. And they again take it very well in stride. So it's quite nice to see how well they do. So moving on to Miss Lily. Lily's the eldest at 6 years old, and that 1 year makes all of the difference in their development. Lily spent the first 2 sessions cutting in on the lunge line and trying to spin, and in general showing me that she very much disapproved of my presence. I reacted by not reacting and simply sent her back out to the end of the line or stopped her from spinning. But you can see just 8 sessions later, and Lily is all business. What you are seeing on the left side is Lily's very first time being lunged off of a bridle. I ran the line through the inside rein and up over the top of the pole and clipped it to the outside as it allows me a good feel of her mouth. I love that you can really see Lily's abs as she's working, and she uses her entire body to move. Lily, as a youngster, had colicked a few times and had a couple of surgeries as a baby. So I'm thinking that keeping her abs strong and her back in shape is of particular importance. Lily has a longer back than the other two and is also weaker. So I'm going to be spending more time bringing it up and strengthening it before introducing a rider. So there is absolutely no rush with any of these girls. They're going to be allowed to develop at their own pace and get what they need. So I'm very grateful that the owners want them to be the best versions of themselves that they can be. And however long that takes, that's what it takes. They really actually see Lily as becoming an ambassador of the breed, and one day would love to see her out and perhaps even showing in dressage. So I think that's quite doable with her. She's the tallest of the 3 girls and actually takes up the most legs. She's quite a stout girl. Once she's become more balanced and stronger, then I think she's really going to be something. So moving on to our work in hand. Up at the top is Lily, and down below is Miss Pippi. So I'm going to be showing a video of us working them side by side, because the methods are basically the same for both of them, so you can toggle back and forth and see what's happening. But you can see that I'm working them 2 different ways. Lily in the upper left, who has a tendency to want to push into me or spin on the lunge line. I spent a couple of circles just simply walking beside her and holding the reins just to reestablish what this work is. And this is about the 4th time that we've done work in hand. So she actually quickly settled in, and then I could move to a more traditional style. And with Pippi, you can see that she understood right away and just got right to work. With both of them, I want to keep what we're doing right now at this stage very simple. They are just to stretch into the contact while I use the whip to tap where my leg would go, so they can get the idea to move off of that tap. I try to stay at their shoulder as much as possible, as it's the safest place to be in case any one of them kick out. With Pippi, I will tap to activate her inside hind, as she tends to be more sticky than Lily. Lily is pretty forward, actually. And when I tap her, I'll tap her right behind the fleshy part of her hock as she is about to swing it forward, which helps her activate and increase the thrust and push forward. So she gets the idea quite well, and as I understand it, that's where a stallion will nip a mare in nature to get them to move forward. So it's almost instinctive when I tap her, she'll move it right forward. As far as the reins, I'm always conscious of them, and I want the girls to seek the bit and not be afraid of it. So on the outside rein, I'm keeping a very steady, very light, gentle, steady contact with the outside while I have a conversation with the inside to encourage them to seek the contact. When they seem to have it, I will lift my hands and just gently bring them into a working position so that they begin to associate the position of the bit and to follow it wherever it may be. But all the while, I'm encouraging a nice rhythmic activity from behind. In time, as they are more accustomed to this, I will start them on a smaller circle and then begin to show them how to yield the shoulder and to move away from the pressure. But right now, both girls are happy and relaxed and eager to learn, and both of them have really exceeded all expectations. So again, I'm a month into training. We're doing 3 days a week, and their development and their progress is really quite spectacular. And throughout all of this, they have remained calm and curious and gentle and active. So they really have exceeded all expectations. And the third young lady is Eileen. You'll notice I did not include Eileen with the other two in the development because she is in a different place. Eileen spent our very first session racing around the pen with her head in the air and her eyes rolling. Apparently, she has always been afraid of her own shadow, and the owners considered her unsellable. She was likely the reason I was brought in, as they mentioned they hoped I could help her with her confidence. And you can see that just 6 sessions in, Eileen is a completely changed young lady. She actually even let us do a partial body clip as her winter coat had not yet shedded and she was starting to overheat during the walk work. And that was something that she would never have allowed in the past. Eileen's smaller than the other girls and not as muscular. That plus the non-shedding of her coat makes me suspect that she may need a metabolic panel to find some answers. Here she is stopping to relieve herself and look at me to make sure that it's okay. Anyway, because of Eileen's diminutive size, she's going to need more time to develop, so I am taking it slow. Eileen is eager to please and quick to get nervous if she doesn't understand, so I make no quick movements around her. Ironically, though, Eileen was the first of the 3 to find the stretch and the walk, and by the end of the session had even stretched at the trot as well. She is quite weak behind as she's been traveling with her head in the air and lots of tension just because of her nature, as she's a very high-strung, reactive girl, but you can really see with each session you can just palpably feel the change in her. In fact, on this very windy day, she was the only one of the 3 that was not spooky, reactive, and agitated, so that was just beyond impressive. You'll note, too, that I'm only lunging Eileen off of the halter. We've not introduced the bridle or any work in hand. She's just not developed enough, so I am moving at a pace that fits this young lady. And throughout this clip, you can see Eileen turn her head towards me, and that's actually in response to me saying "good girl," and she has now associated that with something that she's done right, and I've really never seen a mare so eager to please, and when she hears that positive affirmation, you can absolutely see her confidence grow. So these are the girls that I'm bringing along, and I'm excited to share their journey. Again, this is a 1-month diary. We're 1 month in, and the change in them is absolutely astounding, and I could not be more happy with their progress. So thank you for letting me share, and we'll see you next month.